It's a minute of silence to invite the divine, invite God into the session so that He does the talking, He does the hearing, and He does the implementation of all that has to be implemented. A warm, warm welcome to all parents, teachers, and my dear Pramini ma'am, Asha ma'am, Archana ma'am, to this second session of Education Unlocked. We've had one session on the 1st of August, and we discussed quite a few things. We talked about how we have made happiness our destination, but making happiness our destination does not work, because happiness is not found at the end on the finishing line, because there is no finishing line. And if we want to find happiness, we have to enjoy the dance of life. Every moment there is a different step that we are faced with, and to enjoy that step, that is the way to find happiness. We shared with you the magic mantra of Jaipuria schools, pre-primary and primary education. And that magic mantra is joy and happiness. Because it is in delight that children really learn. The minute they find an atmosphere which is full of delight and joy and happiness, they become open. They become open to all kinds of learning. We spoke about the difference between literacy and education. We also discussed in detail on the importance of senses. And we shared so many games that we can play through which the sense of sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, all these senses can become more and more and more subtle, more refined. And it is through these senses that we would be able to experience the world as we grow older. We spoke about the importance of scientific inquiry. We spoke about the joy of discovery and how we should not try to cut short that joy of discovery. In our excitement to teach the child faster, we take away the joy of discovery. When the child discovers the answer himself, it is that eureka moment, wow, I found it. And the same thing is completely killed when we do it. So we must not take away the joy of discovery from our child. We spoke about the uselessness of the method of punishment and rewards and how it mars the educational process. And last but not the least, we talked about how education is best done when we are able to not only believe but live the thought Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. This is all that we discussed in our first session on 1st of August. Those of you who were not present for that, it's on the Facebook, and I'm sure it must have gone on YouTube. So please do go through the session so that you become completely aware of the pedagogy, the science of pedagogy of Seth Hemar Jaipuria schools. We must begin the session today. Let's start with the slide. Jaipuria believes that education is understanding the self. See, when we bring up our child with strength, with courage, with valor, when we bring him up with confidence and we like his ideas, he may be thinking out of the box, and we praise his ideas if they are good, then he sees himself as a lion, because we have infused courage, valor, and a self-confidence in him. But on the other hand, if we bring him up with fear and cowardice, and we suppress his views constantly, he grows up without any confidence and without any belief in himself. Let me tell you a story. Once a man found an eagle's egg. And what did the man do? He took the eagle's egg and he put it in the backyard, in the nest of a backyard hen, where the hen had already laid a lot of eggs, and he put it amongst her other eggs. Now the hen thought that भगवान ने दिया है, different egg hai, I have given birth to it, doesn't matter. So she was looking after all of them, and out from the eagle's egg, obviously an eaglet came out. And the hen thought, God has given me a different kind of a child, a different chicken, doesn't matter. All his life, the eagle did what the backyard chickens did, because he was taught that he's a chicken. So he would scratch for worms and insects, he would cluck and he would cackle and he would thrash his wings, and from the ground he would barely be able to fly a few inches, just like chicken, but that's what he was taught. Years and years passed by, and the eagle grew a little old. One day, he saw a magnificent bird flying in the sky, powerful wings, which he would flap twice, and he could glide through the air for a long while. Such powerful wings, and what a glide, and what magnificence, and what strength. And the eagle asked his mother hen, said, Mother, what is that? And the mother said, Oh, that's an eagle. It's the bird of the sky. It's the king of birds. We are only chicken and hen. And the eagle just looked at it and said, yeah. So the eagle believed he was a chicken. He lived like a chicken and he died a chicken. You know why I've told you this story? It's because we constantly tell our children, अरे हम तो इंसान हैं, इंसान की तो कमियां होती हैं. We will make mistakes, we are human beings, and this is what they believe. क्या हम खाली इंसान हैं कि हमारे अंदर कुछ और शक्ति है? Actually, our children are children of the new world with infinite potential. Infinite potential. कैसे है वो infinite potential? Because they have that divine God, the infinite, actually sitting inside them. Inside each one of us, there is the soul, the Antaratman. You can call it the Ruh, you can call it the soul, you can call it the Atma, but it is that divine light right inside us. And that is who we are. Now, if a parent and a teacher continuously enlightens a child that Tattvamasi, that thou art, Aham Brahmasmi, this is who I am. I have infinite potential. I have infinite energy. Then the child will be able to tap that energy. That the child will be able to drink from that resource. The child will be able to dip into that resource because वो light हमारे अंदर है. कस्तूरी कुंडल बसे मृग ढूंढे वन माही, ऐसे घटी घटी राम है दुनिया देखत नहीं. तो इस infinite potential से वाकिफ कराना बहुत जरूरी part of education है. Very important. And this is best done when the child is really young. जब वो प्ले ग्रुप में है, LKG में है, UKG में है, 1, 2, 3 में है, तब तक ये काम ठीक से हो सकता है. उसके बाद में थोड़ा मुश्किल होएगा. Because like we discussed last time, जब हम उनके सामने कुछ नेगेटिव बातें लाते हैं, तब हम एक पर्दा डाल देते हैं. तो as the time grows, वो पर्दे पड़ने लग जाते हैं. The more we can actually activate that center, that is what is important. We in Jaipuria awaken this hidden potential and awaken the child to that God, that divinity which sleeps within their heart as the Antaratman. And for education to be complete, it must cover all the parts of the being. And for understanding क्या parts हैं हमारे being के, we must know who am I? Who am I? You know, Raman Maharshi Whenever anybody would go to Raman Maharshi, he would send back the person saying, find out who am I? Find out who are you? Now, this is a very important question. And this, we try our best that through these 12, not 12, 15 years of education in Jaipuria, the child becomes completely conscious of all the parts of his being. And consciously, he starts educating each part of his being. We are a physical self, this physical body. We are a vital or emotional self, which has to be educated separately. Conscientiously, consciously, we have to educate the vital or emotional self. We are a mental self. Most education, unfortunately, world over, is considered to be only the mental education. But that is not all. So we are a physical self, we are a vital or emotional self, we are a mental self, and we have a spiritual self. All these four aspects of our being make me up, and that is who I am. Now, in Jaipuria, we try our best that they not only learn what are the four aspects of their being, but they also learn what is the aim of education. The aim of education is to consciously remember the magic word. The magic word will always remain conscious. They, over these 15 years, they will slowly and slowly understand the aim of education is to consciously perfect each one of these four selves. They must consciously perfect this physical body. Whatever body they have, it has to be consciously perfected. We will talk about physical education today. We will talk about vital education today. We will talk about mental education today. And then finally, we will talk about spiritual education. So, the aim of Jaipuria is to make the child conscious of all these four aspects of his being and become conscious how he can actually perfect these four aspects of his being. Jaipuria believes that education is nurturing the physical self. For education to have its maximum result, it has to cover all the four aspects of the being. This we've already spoken about. Now, of these four aspects, when we talk about the physical education, we must understand that physical education is most completely governed by method, order, discipline, and procedure. Method, order, discipline, and procedure. In fact, let's first talk about the method, order, discipline, and procedure. If your child has reached, say, class 4 and he has started going for football practice, there has to be a discipline in it. If he has to get up at 5 o'clock, he has to get up at 5 o'clock. If there is no discipline in his routine, in his schedule, in his timetable, the physical body will not be able to perfect itself. There has to be a method that this is the way I'm going to look after the bones of my body. This is what I'm going to do about the muscles of my body. This is what I'm going to do that I'm able to bring an order into my physical development. So the method, order, procedure, discipline are very, very important. And if these have been inculcated in the parent, then the parent will be able to inculcate it in the child. But it has to start in the very early years. There is a discipline of the time that one has to sleep. There is a discipline in the food that one eats. How important it is that one is conscious about the kind of food that the child is eating. And the child should start feeling and realizing what the importance of the kind of food that he's eating. Is it doing me any good? Or is it going to spoil my system? If I don't sleep, once in a while there should be a laxation in the rules, because one cannot bring the army into the home in these early years. But the discipline must be gotten into your schedule in the early years. It's really important. A good physical education is that in which the child, first, the child becomes conscious of his physical body. You know, generally we live life without even a consciousness of the physical body. खाली उसकी सुंदरता is very important. Beauty of the body is very important. But that is not all. Becoming conscious of the body is very important. And secondly, the child consciously makes it strong and supple, resilient and energetic, clean and healthy. These are very important aspects of education. So, through games, we make our child conscious of his physical body and the need to keep it not only clean and healthy, but also tough and sturdy. Now, when they're playing games, what is really important is to teach them the spirit of sportsmanship. It's an integral part of the physical education regime. This includes the right attitude of playing games, friendliness with competitors, self-control, and a thorough observance of rules and fair play. Very, very important. These qualities not only have value in sports, it is learned in sports, but it is used throughout life. So this is a very, very important part of the physical education regime. Through yoga, we teach your child how to keep his body agile and flexible. All those yoga asanas. Through pranayam, we teach your child how to keep his airways, his passages, his lungs healthy and clean and clear. And this is what we expect from our parents, that they also carry this education forward at home. And our students follow a very specific physical fitness regime. Our sports teachers have gone to Pondicherry many, many times to understand how this specific physical fitness regime works, so that every part of the body is taken care of through this regime. And their bones, their posture, their muscles, their nerves, all are handled properly. In fact, we have a posture measurement machine by which we measure the posture of the child, and those who have a problem in their posture are corrected over the years so that they learn to have the right posture. We have a standard physical fitness regime which includes marathons, broad jumps, toe touching, medicine ball, squats, sit-ups, and many other exercises. And these have been carefully designed, as I had told you, to strengthen their bones and muscles, so it leads to agility and suppleness of their body and keep it healthy. So in the beginning, it is almost like they have to do it, and slowly and steadily it becomes an excitement for themselves, and they take the challenge on themselves and they become conscious of it, and then they start enjoying it and doing it by themselves at home. We have many games. We play all these games. So there's boxing, there's cricket, athletics, swimming, football, table tennis, lawn tennis, volleyball, basketball, self-defense. So all these, over the years, the child really enjoys this array of sports that he goes into, and it actually depends on the parents. How much the parents actually, encourage the child to join the early morning practices, come with the child for early morning swimming practices or football practices or cricket matches. And yes, that is the physical. We try to do that, and we don't do it for winning a lot of accolades. The accolades come, the achievements come because we have a super sports team of teachers. I don't know how many teachers we have, 8 or 9 or 10, but they're wonderful teachers that we have in our sports department. And we can show off a little, Mitali ma'am. So we've reached national levels in athletics and swimming, state levels. So these are just a few. This was made in 2018. It hasn't been updated after that. But yes, we've doing pretty well. So we just wanted to show you. Yeah, next. So this was about the physical education. Now you remember which were the four parts of our being? There's the physical, the vital or emotional, the mental, and the spiritual. So now let us go to the vital or emotional self. Jaipuria believes that education is nurturing the vital or emotional self. How do we do that? The mother has said that of all education, the education of the vital is perhaps the most important and the most indispensable. Why is it so? See, you may have a perfect athletic body, but if your nature is not right, if your character is not on the right lines, then what good is that beautiful body going to do? What good will that healthy body do? Because the nature, the character, the emotional being it's very important to train the nature of the child, the character of the child has to be formed. It has to be formed with a lot of delicacy, a lot of subtlety. And how can you do that? Vital education consists basically of two aspects: the development and use of the senses. We have already spoken in detail about the use of the senses in our last session. The second very important aspect of vital education is the conscious transformation of character. Both these aspects are equally important. It to work on the character of a child is a very delicate process, and it should be very carefully designed. This whole process must be very carefully designed. And what we have learned through our interactions with Pondicherry, because that is where we get our educational help from, is that the child, first of all, he should be surrounded by beauty. He should be surrounded by beauty because the importance of beauty cannot be emphasized enough. We have tried to make the surroundings of our school as beautiful as possible. Why? So that they start aspiring. They start aspiring for beauty. They start aspiring for aesthetics. In fact, even right now, I've been in touch with somebody who has created a beautiful program on aesthetics, which we want to expose our middle school and senior school students to. So beauty and aesthetics naturally lead to a harmony within the being. जब हम सुंदरता को देखते हैं, सुंदर चीजों को देखते हैं, नेचर को देखते हैं, when you look at nature and you make the child conscious of the beauty of a flower, you make the child conscious of the beauty of a tree. Just look at the tree, look at the multiple colors of green. Notice भी नहीं करते हैं लोग कि कितने shades of green एक पेड़ में होते हैं. जब हम बच्चे को दिखाते हैं butterfly and the myriad colors that butterflies come in and the design in the wings. When you make a child conscious of the beauty of God and what He has painted, what He has given to us. आप लोग सब Google the poem Who, WHO, by Sri Aurobindo. Read that poem for yourself. Your children are in playgroup, so they may not, they are still too young to enjoy it. But please, I request you all to download the poem Who. Mitali ma'am can send it to all the playgroup parents. Huh? That beautiful with the picture, the video. Yeah. So how beautiful this world is. We have to make our children conscious of that beauty. And when they see this beauty, when they start noticing the beauty, sometimes you can just sit outside when there are clouds and look at the clouds and ask the child to imagine and see what are the shapes that the clouds are forming. No, all these things start refining the senses. That is what is important. Refinement of our senses. Another thing, through music, singing, dance, art, poetry, the vital being of the child, the emotional being of the child, progressively over these 15 years starts getting refined. And it starts becoming subtle, जिसको कहते हैं सूक्ष्म होने लगता है. और जब ये सूक्ष्म होएगा vital being, then it will start becoming sensitive. Not only sensitive to himself, but sensitive to the world around. Refinement बहुत जरूरी है. And that is the difference again between literacy and education. जब educate करते हैं हम बच्चे को, तो उसके अंदर refinement और culture आना बहुत जरूरी है. Right? Artistic temperament leads to a refinement of the senses. I'd like to show to our parents a few videos to showcase the kind of learning that goes into our students in all these fields, that I just spoke about: music, singing, dance, art, poetry. Children start writing poetry at such a young age, and beautiful poetry comes out of them. Our children learn many, many beautiful Let's see the next one. This girl has learned this singing online during during last month. This is Mozart's 40th Symphony, which has been sung in the Hindi swar alap ke through kiya hai, and it was taught online by Pragya ma'am. Beautiful. Dance in Jaipuria school is compulsory for boys and girls. So dance is compulsory for boys and girls from playgroup to class 6, because we need our boys, the boys of India, the boys of the world need to become sensitive. And that sensitivity will come through all these refinement, through these arts, these performing arts.
Basically, this song which was sung by Aditri, the melody. So there are some boys also who've learnt it. Sarthak Mishra is one of them. So Pragya ma'am and I, we discussed this. We are going to spread this culture, and these children are going to form a group, and they are going to teach it to other children, so that more and more of them learn. So
wow.
Yeah. So this is what we are into, because we want all of them to be more and more sensitive and have this knowledge of music.
Very nice. It's so beautifully sung, and I've seen 3-4 videos of 3-4 children who have sung it. It's phenomenal. When I sent this video to Pragya said it's going to be very difficult, ma'am. I said, challenge. It's my challenge to you.
Yeah.
And she's done it. She's done it beautifully.
Yeah. So now those children want to take it forward. They've enjoyed it, so they'll take it forward.
They will teach. That is really, when you teach, you learn 100 times more. It becomes yours. Very nice. Thank you, ma'am. The girls dance is also.
रंग सबके नसीब दा सावत सुहा रंग नसीब दा खेले दुख सुख आँख मिचोली हो सुख दुख आँख मिचोली जी मैं तू जा मैं तू मेरे सारे जहां में तू जी मैं तू जा मैं तू मेरे सारे जहां में तू ओ सावत सुहा रंग सबके नसीब दा खेले दुख सुख आँख मिचोरी मेरा मुर्शिद खेले होरी मेरा मुर्शिद खेले होरी यारा रंग है उसका न्यारा मेरा मुर्शिद खेले होरी.
Yeah, we're teaching many kinds of art. These are only a few things that we have placed before you. There's mandala art, there's mosaic, mohenjo-daro, blow paint. It's endless, so it doesn't matter really. But I just wanted you all to know, your playgroup parents. So just wanted you all to know about the kind of art that they will be learning through the years.
Namaste. My name is Abhimanya, and now I am singing the one poem. मैं सेठ माँ जयपुरिया का बच्चा हूँ, दिखने में पूरा कच्चा हूँ, पर दिमाग से पूरा अच्छा हूँ. मैं भी एक दिन बंदूक उठाऊंगा, दुश्मनों को मार गिराऊंगा, अपने फौजी दोस्तों से हाथ मिलाऊंगा और तिरंगा को लहराऊंगा. हिंद जय भारत.
Hello everyone, I am Janya Chugani from class 3G. Today I'll recite a self-composed poem before you. The title of my poem is Plastic. Plastic is a curse lying on sidewalks, which is even worse, and ending in the ocean full of pollution, still with no solution. This is no civic pride, I'm surprised. Care is what we should do, otherwise world will never rise. Thank you.
Now we talked about why we are talking about vital education, and we are talking about a change in the nature, working on the character of a child. So we are teaching sanskars through Sanskrit. Sanskrit is a cultured language. We can stop the slide. Sanskrit is a cultured language for the attainment of culture, for the attainment of Sanskriti. In Jaipuria school, we teach conversational Sanskrit as the third language through Deva Bhasha curriculum from playgroup to grade 8. See, our ancestors have already done the path-breaking work for value education. What have they done? The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, they abound with mantras which are all written in Sanskrit, which focus on values, all the values that you want your child to have. They are all embedded inside all these mantras. And by what is a mantra? A mantra are words which when repeated again and again and again and again, they have a force by which what you are repeating actually gets programmed into your cells, into the very cells of your brain, your genes, everything. It just changes everything. That's the beauty of a mantra. We, of course, teach Sanskrit as a language, but right now I'm only concentrating on how we are working on the character of the child. See, the world is struggling to find a pedagogy that instills higher values in children. And so we thought to ourselves, why reinvent the wheel? The work has been done by our Vedic rishis. So from childhood, through their formative years, our students are introduced to mantras from these texts. Mantras which focus on, I'm just giving you some mantras which focus on cultivating the right attitude towards life, cultivating the right attitude towards study. How should we study? Cultivating the right attitude towards those who are elder to us, cultivating the right attitude towards environment, self-observation, concentration, focus, compassion, universal love. We talked about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The students of our schools have become anthologies because they are learning 3 mantras from the Vedas, 3 from the Upanishads, and 3 from the Gita every year, right, starting from playgroup. So by the time they reach class 8, they've become anthologies of these mantras. And these mantras are not just taught as if they're taught to a parrot. They understand the meaning in depth. And when we have discussions, and we have a lot of spiritual discussions with our students, they're able to reflect and they're able to pull out from this anthology that is inside them the right mantra that would fit there. And they are not only able to chant the mantra, but explain the meaning and how it can be applied to life. There is a different kind of a sheen, a different shine in our students because of this tryst that they have with culture, with Sanskriti. Let me show you a few videos of our students. This was our playgroup children. Mundaka Upanishad, he tells us the method how he has become the many. You remember the verse? Is it from Deva Bhasha? Say it out, please.
यथोर्णनाभि सृजते गृह्णते च यथा पृथिव्यामोषधया सम्भवन्ति यथा सतः पुरुषात् केशलोमानि तथा क्षरात् सम्भवन्तीह विश्वम्
ईशावास्यमिदग्वं सर्वं यत्किञ्च जगत्यां जगत्या. So we'll do these 3 verses. They really clinch a lot on how karma has to be done.
Ma'am, there's one more shlok from the Bhagavad Gita, ma'am, which is, I think, loosely related to this. Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat samjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate krodat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibramah smriti bhrinshat buddhi nasho buddhi nashat pranashyati.
Beautiful.
Ma'am, it is basically कि अगर मैम आई डू नॉट रिमेम्बर द इनिशियल थिंग बट मैम अगर इच्छा होती मैम हम लोगों को अगर कोई इच्छा होती है तो फिर अगर इच्छा अगर हम लोगों की पूरी नहीं होती तो हम लोगों को क्रोध हो जाता है. क्रोध इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट डिस्ट्रक्टिव एंटिटीज. तो फिर वो हम लोगों की चेतना शक्ति को नष्ट कर देता है और अंत में जो ह्यूमन होता है वो अपने पतन में चला जाता है, वो अपने डिक्लाइन पे चला जाता है और फिर वो कभी उठ नहीं पाता क्योंकि उसकी चेतना शक्ति खत्म हो जाती है.
सो हैप्पी अबाउट द वे देव भाषा के श्लोक अब बच्चे सीख रहे हैं, समझ रहे हैं. सो आवर एम इज बेसिकली टू मेक आवर स्टूडेंट्स कॉन्शियस ऑफ द वेरियस मूवमेंट that are happening within their being. You know, to be able to notice that I have jealousy inside me, or I have anger inside me, and I need to work on it. This consciousness is a very important factor which Deva Bhasha and the mantras in Divyavani are doing very gradually, subtly, working on the sukshma level, working on the subtle level. They learn to observe themselves. They learn to observe their reactions, their impulses, their compassion, and their violence. They have both. Now they have to make sure that they increase the level of compassion and reduce the level of violence, and they have to become conscious of it. They have to transform their weaknesses into strengths, their reactions, react karna into responses, their violence into love. There are many projects that we do in class 8 which also make them again conscious that they can transform themselves. It's called the personal transformation project, but abhi aapke bacche playgroup mein hai, so it is not the time to talk about it. To sum up, children are taught to gain full knowledge of their character, acquire control of it, and then consciously transform it. So this is part of the vital education, the sphere of vital education in Jaipuria school. Now let's move on to mental education. Jaipuria believes that education is nurturing the mental self. Now, education has almost become synonymous with mental education. To a great extent, it has degenerated into cramming information and reproducing it in examinations, as if retention and reproduction are the only two skills that you have to learn to be educated. But no, this is not mental education completely. It may be important to a certain point, certain amount, but there are 5 basic faculties which must be developed if we want to talk about mental education. The 5 faculties which must be developed if we want to educate the mental self of the child. First is observation, attention, and concentration. Then capacity of expansion and widening the range of thinking. ये नहीं कि किताब में से सीखा और बस उतना ही आता है और वो हो गया. Then we have not given mental education. We have made them like parrots. They have learned something and that is all which is part of their knowledge. They must be able to have the capacity of expanding and widening the range of thinking. Of course, I'll tell you how Jaipuria School is working on that. Ability to organize ideas in a logical manner. Fourth, thought control, so that one is able to accept only positive thoughts and reject negative thoughts. And fifth is mental silence. Every period in our school, when school begins for you, but even while school is not on, you can do it at home, my dear parents. Every period begins with 3 minutes of silence. And in those 3 minutes of silence, very gradually, in the beginning, the child will learn only how to keep the physical body still. But gradually, while he goes on doing it 8 times a day, once before every period, slowly and steadily in a few years, he will start looking at his thoughts. He will start looking at his emotions. What is happening in his emotions? And then he will learn how to control his emotions. Then he will come to controlling his thoughts. That there is an actual silence which is growing in his being. This is what we are doing for silencing the being. Through discussions, we do a lot of discussions. Through various topics, on various topics, the child learns to expand the range of his thinking. We had talked about capacity of expansion and widening the range of thinking. That is only possible when a child and the teacher, when children and a teacher get into discussions and the child is able to voice his opinion and think out of the box. It's a very important part of mental education. Now, regarding these small children, through various memory games and puzzles, which graduate into more and more complex puzzles, we develop the power of observation, the power of attention, the power of concentration. Let me give you an example. How beautiful it would be when a student looks at a flower. He looks at a flower and it doesn't just look at the flower. His mind is able to fix itself on the exact shade of the flower. Aha, this is vermilion. And then he is able to also see the glow in the flower. He is able to at the same time concentrate on the scent of the flower, the beauty of the curve of the form. He is able to see how do the petals curve. At the same time, to be able to see the flower in its entirety. When he touches the flower, he should be able to tell the difference between the texture of the rose and the texture of the carnation. You know, this is mental. You're developing the mind. All this should be done not as a task, but as an object of interest, which wants to observe, which wants to investigate. These are very important parts of mental education. Another part of mental education is something that we've learned from Stanford University, USA. Stanford University, USA proved through an experiment that children who in their young ages mastered the art of control and patience in their early pre-primary years became greatly successful in life later on. So what we do in our pre-primary section, playgroup, LKG, UKG, even class 1, we follow this experiment in which in the first period, the teacher puts a sweet on the table of each child. And the child is told that you cannot have the sweet till the end of the day. You have to wait. And sometimes a child eats it, pops it because he cannot. But when you go on doing such experiments again and again and again and again, the child learns the art of control, which is a very important, very, very important part of mental education. Sometimes we give them a sweet. After doing it 3-4 times, we give them the sweet and tell them that it has to remain on the table, not in your bag, through the day. And then you have to take it home and give it to your caretaker, aapki jo helper hai, for her child. So then they are able to learn to control even up to that extent. Stanford ka ye experiment hai, you can go online and check it out. That a child who has learned control and patience in these early years becomes highly successful later on in life. So please, parents, जब तक ये बच्चे आपके पास हैं, हमारे पास नहीं आ रहे हैं, आप ये experiments उनके साथ में करिए, ये games की तरह करिए, teach them control and patience. So we have covered physical education, we have covered vital education, we have covered mental education. Now let's come to the most important part of education. Jaipuria believes that education is nurturing the spiritual self. Now, how do we do that? There is a light that shines at the center of the being, radiating through the thick coverings of the external consciousness. ये लाइट हम सब में है. किसी को वो लाइट की तरह मालूम है, कोई आत्मा, कोई रूह, कोई अपने कृष्णा को अंदर देखता है, कोई गुरु नानक को देखता है, कोई क्राइस्ट को देखता है, कोई अल्लाह को देखता है. पर वो है एक प्रेजेंस, एक luminous presence which is there in each one of us. And many children, most children rather, in their young ages are completely under the influence of this divine presence or God which is within them. Most children are under the influence of that. They are under this influence because they are constantly aware of this glowing light and the radiance within themselves. It is the most important work of an educational institution, and it is the most important work for parents to keep this connection alive, the connection between the child and God's presence within. This is our aim for Playgroup, and we pray to God that He leads us in this lofty endeavor. Let me share a concern with you, my dear parents. Every time a child experiences a negative idea, every time the child experiences anger or lying or any other falsehood at home or in the school or at a friend's place, क्या होता है? एक पर्दा पड़ जाता है. A veil is drawn between the soul inside, this light inside, and his outer being. And this luminous shining soul slowly starts becoming dhundla for his outer being. In contrast, every time a child hears lofty ideas, aspirational ideas from his parents and teachers, when he sees acts of compassion, acts of love in his surroundings, when he sees Mummy, Papa always talking with respect to each other, when he sees his Dada, Dadi speaking with love and respect to their bahu and their son, and the mother looking after the grandparents properly, when they see beauty around them, when they see lofty ideas around them, then this light of the soul starts coming forward. And it guides the words of the child, guides the thoughts of the child, guides the emotions and actions of the child. Therefore, it is our job as teachers, parents, and educationists to provide these young souls with an atmosphere which is brimming with delight. Remember the magic mantra? Delight, happiness, joy, love. So it is our job as parents to provide, parents and teachers, to provide these young souls with an atmosphere which is brimming with happiness, brimming with positive thoughts. Jaipuria believes that education is as organic as growing a plant. If you try to force open a bud of a rose, do you think you will be able to make the rose blossom? Will the rose blossom? It won't blossom. It will just, the flower will drop dead. When a rose plant grows into many buds, do you know which bud will blossom first? We don't know, because this is a very organic process. And this organicity, if that is a word, must be allowed to remain organic. We cannot force open the flowering of our children. When we try to force open, try to push things, force the children, the child is not able to grow because he comes under a great amount of pressure. We cannot force growth in a particular direction because we will kill the blossoming itself. Let me tell you a story. Once a very well-meaning scientist could not, he was seeing the progression from a caterpillar to a pupa, and he could not bear the pain that the butterfly was having while the birthing was happening, while she was fluttering her wings with great pain to come out of the pupa. And he couldn't bear the pain, and he thought, let me help her. So in trying to help her, he got a very soft pair of tweezers and gently held the wings and pulled the butterfly out. And you know what? The butterfly could never fly after that. Why? Because through that pain, the birthing process, through that pain, the wings were being strengthened. That pain was important for the growth of the wings, for the strength to come into the wings. And the scientists had cut short the pain so that the butterfly would not go through the pain, but she could never fly again. Similarly, pain and failure are part of our child's development. We must not try to cut it short. Let the child go through it. Don't interfere with that process of blossoming. You can sit and explain to him later about the pain, what that pain was, but don't try to cut short everything, right? So this, in short, are some of the methods that we are talking about the education process of Jaipuria School. Fortunately, in all these years of Jaipuria School's growth, from 1992, we have had alumni who have reached nice spots. So these are our illustrious alumni, to name a few. There's Ashutosh Agarwal who's reached Google, there's Siddharth Agarwal who's reached Facebook, and there are children who have gone to GenPact, and one child is the Vice President Bank of America. And there are others alumni. There are alumni who've come back to the school to become teachers. There are so many of them who are in the army. There is my favorite student, Taposh Bose. There is this Lieutenant Colonel Rachit Mathur, Major, Commander, Lieutenant Udayveer Chopra, our very dear Kanika's son, Lieutenant Commanders. They are in the Navy, Army, all over. So this is just to show you where Jaipuria school students have gone, and they're doing well. And that is the kind of dream we have for your students, for your children also, my dear parents. We will be successful when children love their school, be it online or classroom teaching. It doesn't matter. But if the children love their school, I think Jaipuria school has been successful. Your child's success is only possible with our collaboration. The collaboration between the school, the teachers, and you parents, that is what will lead to your child's success. A warm, warm welcome to the School of Conscious Transformation. So now we'll open the floor to questions and answers. We've finished in an hour, and we have half an hour for questions from the parents, if there are any. Ramni ma'am, please take over.
Parents, a lot of things which you may have anticipated and you would have wanted to ask, probably they've already been answered by Anjali ma'am. Nonetheless, it will be nice if you reflect upon all that has been said, and please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. Mr. Anshul Jaiswal says, would have loved for my son to be able to go to school and enjoy the joy of friends at such a young age. I feel he is missing out this beautiful journey due to COVID-19. My son is very shy and doesn't open up in front of others or tells the answers that he knows. How should I handle this sensitivity?
Can you please repeat the question once?
Yes, ma'am. He says he feels that his son is very shy and he doesn't open up when there are people around. So how should he handle this situation?
Let the child be what he is spontaneously. He will slowly get out of his shyness. There is no hurry. There is no need to force, because the child is enjoying his own inner being. And that is why he's shy. Let him be. He will change. You know, children are like little buds, as I told you. Slowly and slowly they blossom. When you interact with friends, abhi COVID ke zamane mein, you can't call his friends over. You cannot make many friends. You cannot introduce him to too many people. So show him some beautiful movies on friendship. There must be beautiful cartoons and well-made movies. Show him a few. Talk to him about friendship, but do not try to force it. It will happen. It will happen gradually. And sometimes some children are shy for life. They prefer to be inwards. If your child is one of those, let him be inwards.
It's like maybe, as long as the child doesn't shy away from his own self, it's fine. Sometimes the parents feel the child is shy, but that is his period of growth. That is the way he grows, and he could be a great thinker as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just as Anjali ma'am had said, she gave this example, and she says that bringing up a child is a very, very organic process. So that is why this example was given, so that we understand that the child is what he is, and he has to grow his way.
Yes, he doesn't shy from his own self. Mr. Jaiswal is saying, he must be just a thinker, like Ramni ma'am is saying. He's a thinker. Let him be by himself. You be with him. You converse with him. Let him make his best friend his own father, his own mother, his own dadi or nani.
This is basically this is a time when we are with our families, but at the same time, it is quite possible that some of us, when we are at home, we are not our best self because we have our battles to fight, and many of us are finding this a very, very challenging time. So whatever Anjali ma'am has said, probably, that tells us, despite our battles, despite our challenges, we have to look at our children, we have to learn from them, and we have to understand how to bring them up so that whenever in life they have the kind of challenge we are facing, they face it bravely and with a lot of patience. And at this point, our life will be an example and a resource for them. If any one of you has a question about it, yes, I have another question from Mr. Rakesh Kumar. Ma'am, मेरी बेटी गौरा
बार बार स्कूल जाना चाहती है. जब भी पढ़ाने बैठो तो पूछती है हम स्कूल कब जाएंगे. क्या कहूँ समझ नहीं आता. I think Mr. Rakesh, you should tell him the truth that there is a little problem in the world, in the whole world. There is a problem due to which we have this advantage of just bonding together. स्कूल हमारे घर आ गया है, हम स्कूल नहीं जा रहे, स्कूल हमारे घर आ गया है और हम सब संग में बॉन्ड कर रहे हैं. कितने महीने तक आपने संग में हैं, संग में रह करके कितनी बॉन्डिंग हुई है पेरेंट्स के बीच में, बच्चों के साथ, अपने पेरेंट्स के साथ. Tell her all the good things about being at home together, and tell them that school जाएंगे. Just have a little patience. We talked about patience and control, so let us now apply it here. धीरे धीरे, but with great gentleness, you have to deal with your child, Ms. Rakesh ji.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mrs. Sanvi Srivastav says that she reads Gita, but her daughter, she's not able to encourage her daughter to do this. How does she encourage her in spiritual knowledge, to get spiritual knowledge?
So, Mrs. Srivastav, how old are you? Tell me. You must be at least 30 तो होंगे ना, 25 होंगे. तो आपको गीता में अब इंटरेस्ट आया है. अब आपकी वो 4 साल की बेटी को गीता में कैसे इंटरेस्ट आ सकता है? दिस इज नॉट द एज टू सिट एंड लर्न द गीता. गीता वो जब डांस करती है, जब वो खुशी के साथ नाचती है, जब वो प्यार से दादी माँ के लिए बोलती मैं पानी लाऊं, या किसी के अपनी उसकी जो हेल्पर है उसके लिए कुछ करती है, उसकी बेटी को बैठ करके ABCD पढ़ाती है या कोई मंत्र बताती है जो उसने अपने स्कूल में सीखा है, उसकी गीता वही है. उसको अभी गीता सुनने में इंटरेस्ट नहीं आएगा. लुक एट हर एज. दिस इज द टाइम. रिमेंबर दोस 2 mantras. Joy and happiness and delight is the first mantra, and the second is love. You have to just concentrate on these 2 mantras. अभी उन्हीं 2 मंत्र से उसको गीता मिलेगी. Let her Gita pour into her through love and through delight. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mrs. Ruhul Hussain, she says, how do we set boundaries with our children without taking their innocence away?
Well, you've just given the answer yourself, that you cannot take their innocence away. The boundaries, when they are set with love, the child understands one language, and that is the language of love. And why child? The language of true love. True love is understood by anybody from the age of 1 day to the age of 95 years or 100 years. All understand the language of love. And to be disciplinarians with such young children doesn't work. So yes, you have answered your own question. Do not take their innocence away. Set the boundaries, but set them with love. And if they've crossed the boundaries, it's all right. Your child is a very young child. What I know of your child, still in playgroup or something like that. Please do not take her innocence away. And please do not be disciplinarians at this age. Let them break the boundaries. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Shavi, she says that she's very happy that the child is in Jaipuria and she's just joined. She's happy with the activities. She's thanking Akansha ma'am and Mitali ma'am And she says she wishes to thank all of you because right now she's attending this session.
Oh, how sweet. She wants to thank you by herself.
So
Especially
Mrs. Reena,
Akanksha ma'am.
yes, ma'am. Mrs. Reena Singh, she says her son is very, very impatient. He just wishes to grab whatever he comes across. So how should I teach him to be patient?
So we have given you a few examples what Stanford University used to do, and you will have to work on it. But again, as I said, at this age, gentleness, sweetness, love, and most of all, patience from you. Because if you become impatient, you cannot teach him patience. So when you're teaching him patience, first of all, it should be completely lived by you. Patience, love, happiness, or delight. If you keep these three magic mantras in front of you and then try to teach him patience, explain to him what you are not able to teach him in the day, at night when the child is going to sleep and you lie down with him, at that time when you speak to him, her, is it her or him? Him. Lie down with him and reflect on the time when he was impatient. Talk about it when he's trying to sleep. At that time, a child becomes very receptive. And what you say to him gently and with love and with sweetness at the time of sleeping starts going on and on in his mental machinery while he's sleeping. And he wakes up with a lot of understanding that has gone into his being. The best story time is the night time. Tell him stories about patience. Pull out, the net is the world is your oyster. Just go to Google, type for stories about patience for young children, pull them out, tell him lots of stories, and he will learn his patience, learn the lesson of patience.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's my curiosity which makes me ask this question. Curiosity or ignorance, whatever you may call. When we tell a child a story and he sleeps after that, is it that the story remains with him throughout the night? If he's sleeping consciously, does he reflect upon it? How does it happen? I mean, is there anything related with this? That it remains with him throughout the night, he reflects upon it, and gradually he learns from it. It remains in his thoughts.
Every child will react to a story differently, but my experience with my own children and my own grandchildren has been that when you tell stories at night, and good stories, there should only be positive stories told. There should never be negative. I mean, all the negativity of stories should be completely censored. There should not be a single negative word in the story. For our story session, each and every story that was being told in the school, I used to go through it with every word I would go into it, not a single negative word. Now, when this positivity goes into the child just before he's sleeping, it's the last thing that he has heard before he goes to sleep. And that kind of goes on and on in his mind as he falls into a deep slumber. It does its work somewhere around there. But another important thing with small children, Playgroup, LKG, UKG, 1, 2, 3, 4, is repeating stories again and again. It should not be that I have read the story, so it's over and done with. The same story must be repeated again and again and again and again, many times. And children at this age love repetition because they are trying to grasp what is it that has already been memorized by them. They want to be sure that they know it all. So they will go sometimes ask, what is this? What is this? And you must have patience while you're explaining to them. Repetition of stories is very, very important. And good stories and never any negativity in the story. Very important to be careful about the words you choose and the stories you choose. And later on, you can start telling stories, and to widen their application, you can tell them that let's change the ending. How do you think he should have behaved? The character, the protagonist, or maybe the other character, how do you think he should have behaved? How do you think you would have, what would you have done if you were in his place? That activates the child to start thinking. So the story time is a very important time in pre-primary years. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for explaining it so beautifully. In fact, many parents here must be having their children in KG, or they've gone through KG last year or maybe a year before that. And I have often asked them, why should you be telling a story? Or we often ask children, do your parents tell stories? So now the parents know the answers. Mrs. Sanvi,
we have a fantastic library full of fabulous stories. So many stories have been actually handpicked by me, by Mona. We do a lot of research in picking the stories for junior school and middle school. We've done a lot of work in picking storybooks. So please take advantage of that. Yeah.
Ma'am, Mrs. Sanvi Srivastav, who had asked about Gita, who had said that she reads Gita, but the child is not interested. Her daughter is 15 years old. So she was talking about her daughter. The child is not so small. She wants that the child should learn.
Okay. Gita. Okay. So, Mrs. Srivastava, we want to tell you that in our school, there is a separate optional Gita classes that are going on. Of course, abhi COVID hai, school is not open. But those children are already doing it online with the Sanskrit teachers. And they've learned many chapters of the Gita. So I think it would be best if you get the telephone number of Sri Ratnasen Tiwari, Ratnasen sir, talk to him and see if you can get him to talk to her, and if he would be able to do something separately for your child, because the other children are way ahead in the Gita, but it should not be forced. If she's not interested in the Gita, don't force her, get her into Ramayana. Because the first text, the first spiritual book that should be introduced to children when they're in playgroup, right up to the time that they're in class 6, 7, 8, Ramayana should be really, the story should be told in many ways. So see, maybe she's not interested in the Gita, maybe she's interested in the Ramayana, and there are many forms of Ramayana that have come out. Mona Singh ma'am, who's a middle school librarian, would be a very good resource for you to understand what are the different forms of Ramayana that we have in the school. Or she would be able to guide you, and you can buy those books on Amazon for your daughter. And you should place books in front of her, but not tell her to read it. They should be like, your lounge table, your drawing room should have a lot of Ramayans, different, very picturesque Ramayans, a very beautiful Gita for children, something like that. And she should pick it up of her own. A book, very nice book that your daughter may be interested in is Sunlit Path, that you can order from Sri Aurobindo Ashram, Sabda. These books should be lying around at home, so that when she's sitting over there, she just feels like browsing it. And when she picks it up, don't notice it. Children don't like to be noticed. That, aaj tumne padha, meko bahut acha laga. Don't say that. Don't even notice it that she's going through the Sunlit Path or she's going through a Ramayana. Let her be, and then she'll pick it up. So, get in touch with Mona Singh, the middle school librarian. She's probably on this chat also. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Shilpa, she wishes her daughter to read books, and she wants to know how to encourage her daughter to do that.
How old is she?
Mrs. Shilpa, if you could tell me.
Shilpa ma'am, how old is your daughter? Okay, because I don't. So if your child is young, like a pre-primary child, you should have it's the same thing. You should have lots of books around, just placed in a room. They should be available. And then the child will definitely want to pick them up and come to you and say, Shilpa ma'am's daughter is 4 years old. So Shilpa ma'am, the right kind of books for a 4-year-old. There should be lots of books in the child's vicinity, and they should be all over the place. And the child, when the child says, "Mummy, read this book out to me," do not say no. You should take out time right then and there, because the child's curiosity must be fulfilled by you. And then read it out to, when you read out a lot of stories to the child, she will start wanting to read stories.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Her daughter is 4 years old.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Yeah. And she has a lot of books which have pictures. Now we have another question. Now we have another question from a parent. My child refuses to color within the lines of any picture. She colors the entire page. Should I hold her hand? Is it okay to not color within the picture of an object? Please guide.
Yes, ma'am. As I told you, that we must not try to force things into a child. When we force him to get within the line, we take away the joy of painting. He's a small child. Your child must be 4 or 5. Let him go outside. Let him make the sky red. Let him make the grass blue. Let him make the tree brown. That's the way he is looking at the world. Just allow him free flow of his artistic imagination. If he doesn't want to color within the lines, it's okay. As we said, that we cannot decide when the flower will bloom. Let it be a very organic growth. Even this coloring, let it be organic. Let the child do it. You do another painting on the side within the lines. Let him see that also. Let him judge for himself what he wants to do, but you don't judge him. Please don't judge him, otherwise you'll take the joy of coloring away from him.
Thank you so much, ma'am. This is a question related to our last session. My child demands gifts after doing an activity, or if I ask her to color. So how should I handle this?
Please do not give rewards. Please do not punish, and please do not give rewards. Tell her that when she does a very beautiful coloring, then you tell her how beautiful it is, even if you don't find it beautiful, even if it's gone outside the line, even as I said, if the sky is red and the grass is blue, it doesn't matter. Praise her and let her feel happy. The joy should be in a work well done. The joy should not be from the gift received for the work done, because then they do not learn the reason for doing a good work. The joy should be in doing the good work. And when a work is well done, it must be appreciated. And then you can tell her, this is the reward that you're getting. That we have liked your work. You have enjoyed doing it. Did you enjoy coloring? If you enjoyed coloring, that is the reward that God has given to you. They must appreciate that the joy should be of a work done well or right. That should be the joy, not in receiving something for it. Yes?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rakesh Kumar and Mrs. Shilpa, they thank you for all the answers. Then perhaps you spoke of the Gita just now, and that has prompted Mrs. Mishra to thank you for what you've done to Saransh. She says, thank you so much. This is Saransh Mishra's mother.
So I wanted to tell Vinita ma'am that today, while I was working with my executive assistant, my secretary, and I was looking at Saransh's video, and I'm being honest about it, I told her, I said, this is one child I'll never, ever, ever forget. He is the most favorite child of mine. There should not be favorites, but my heart goes out every time I hear him. There is some bond that I have with Saransh. Please tell him I remember him many times. You have a very special child. Very special child. Nourish him. Cherish him. You're very blessed, and you've done a wonderful job in bringing up Saransh. It's turned out a gem.
Mrs. Reena Singh, she says, trust me, I got goosebumps after your answers on coloring topic and telling us not to force the child.
I'm so happy. Really happy. I'm so happy that, yeah. You know, sometimes we are very rigid about a house is made like this. We can't be rigid about it. If the child has made a round, round, round and he said, this is a house, you must see it as a house because he's seeing it as a house. When he's done something like this and says, this is a house, or he's done something like this, maybe it's horizontal. He said, this is a tree. Please, please don't correct him. Tell him it's beautiful because see it from his eyes. He's seeing the house like that and he's seeing the tree like that, right? So please don't correct your child at this age or any age for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. I would not have done it otherwise, but here we have Mrs. Swati Gupta. So she says, the girl who wishes to say thank you is right here in front of the camera. So, ma'am, with your permission, may we call Shavi because teaching a child to express gratitude is just beautiful. And that's very
nice. Can we throw the spotlight on her? Can we tell Suresh to? What is written on the...
Shavi, Swati Gupta. Swati Gupta.
What's her name? Shavi?
Shavi.
Okay. Hi, Shavi.
We can all...
Hi, Shavi. It's so sweet. Shavi, are you enjoying school? मजा आ रहा है स्कूल में माने ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई में?
Ashvi, her name is Ashvi.
Okay.
अच्छा आशवी आपको पढ़ाई करने में मजा आ रहा है?
स्कूल में मैम पूछ रही है?
हाँ, क्या चीज सबसे ज्यादा एंजॉय कर रहे हो? क्या सबसे ज्यादा एंजॉय कर रहे हो?
क्या मजा आ रहा है बताओ?
बताओ क्या?
आपकी टीचर मजा आ रहा है 3 और 4 और 5.
She loves Sanskrit counting.
4 और 5.
बताइए चलिए बताइए एक क्या क्या है बताइए.
बाकी हाथ में कर दो. एकम
बोलते
फिर त्रीनी
और सेनी बोलते और चतवारी बोलते और पंजा बोलते.
उसके बाद चतवारी बोलते.
Very nice. She's so beautiful. It's a lovely child you have. Thank you, Ashi.
अब मम्मी हाँ मम्मी करती ना.
अब मैं बॉल खेलने जा रही हूँ टीचर.
अच्छा बॉल खेलने जा रहे हो. खेलो खेलो एंजॉय करो खूब हैप्पीनेस लाओ. नमामि 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 बाय लव यू love you. Yes. हाँ आप बॉल से खेलो. बहुत क्यूट आपकी ड्रेस है. कितना क्यूट उसमें गर्ली बनी हुई है.
Thank you so much, Anjali ma'am. Listening to you is always a pleasure and so enlightening. And I'm so glad you've spoken to the parents. And that's how we change the culture of the entire society towards education and our own bent of mind. I pass on the mic to Asha ma'am, a Vice Principal of Pre-Primary and Junior School and Principal Nafs.
Thank you, Pramini ma'am. Good evening, dear parents, Anjali ma'am, Pramini ma'am, Ashna ma'am, and my dear colleagues. I am humbly grateful to all our precious parents for their valuable presence today. Actually, time is the most precious thing which one can give to somebody in this world, and especially nowadays when we are so busy in so many things together. And if you give your time to somebody, it means you care about that person. Similarly, your presence today shows that you care about us, about our sessions, about your own child, about your child's education and his school. Actually, parents, the relation of a child, parent, and the school is just like a triangle. The topmost point is the child, and the 2 points at the base are school and the parent. And we all are connected with each other at some point. And we all can work together for the growth of the child. So parents, your cooperation for your child's growth and your presence on all such school sessions, occasions is extremely important for us. So once again, thank you, dear parents. We value your presence a lot. Now, how to pay gratitude to Anjali ma'am, who is the epitome of elegance, who is the epitome of elegance, knowledge, understanding, sharing, and caring. It is said if you share knowledge, it increases. Same applies to Anjali ma'am, who is always willing to share her knowledge, her experience on spiritualism, on education, and much more. Ma'am remains extremely busy and occupied with her talks on Gita, Vedas, and many more subjects which we don't know much. Still, she gave us time and enlightened all of us. Thank you, ma'am. We are obliged. Thank you once again, everybody, for being the part of this journey of learning. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Asha ma'am. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the session.
Thank you, ma'am. We all enjoyed, ma'am. It was wonderful.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Brahmani ma'am.
Thank you so much,
Mitali,
ma'am.
thank you. Suresh, bye. Bye. Shubham, Mona, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.